So when I do the work, it's coming from a whole nother level of passion and commitment. I truly feel like the work that I've done within the communities of Houston, learning the skills to articulate yourself when you have certain issues, knowing how to address trauma that you never dealt with before, having certain particular conversations with people that are difficult to have conversations with, but finding a medium to be able to do that. These are what the restorative practices that have helped me do.
All right, welcome back. Episode 6, Translating Success Podcast. We here. I'm super excited about this episode. Me and Dre been going hard. 5 episodes in. This is episode 6, and we got something special for y'all with a guest. We're gonna get into that, but first I wanted to reintroduce what we're doing and what's the purpose of this whole podcast. And I was talking about this earlier with when I used to go to do speaking engagements back in New York, starting a couple years ago. I would travel from Texas to New York. I used to go upstate where I went to school, SUNY Cortland, and that's like a 4-hour drive from where I used to live. I used to take a flight to New York City and then take the drives up with my father. And I remember those conversations just being on another level. It was 4 hours of deep conversation. We cried, we laughed, we talked about things that we didn't get to talk about and when we were around each other and other family members. And I just remember that feeling of having those moments with my father when we went on trips and just saw a different side of him and saw him being able to just let go of all the pressures and all the thoughts and all the responsibilities and just talking. And the premise of this whole podcast is to bring that to the realm so that people can see, that's possible, and then spark up conversation in their own lives. So with that being said, I'm excited to bring in one of my good friends. He is a integrated health coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and we went to college together. We played on the ball teams together. He did a lot on campus with creating clubs called, there's this club that he was known for that I joined and got really involved with him, and he was kind of like a role model for me on campus, called Move, Men of Value and Excellence. And he's been that since when he was on campus, and then throughout after college, he just represented something greater, and I just love what he's doing now. And I wanted to bring him to the show, Juan Miolan. Welcome, my brother. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm blessed, man. Doing great. Happy to be here. Like you said, we go back, and I love seeing what you're doing. I love your energy. Love what you're doing with your energy and your message. So it's an honor to be here with y'all.
I appreciate it, man. So, listen, I wanted to give you the floor. Let people know what it is that you're doing now specifically, so people got an idea. I know I said I threw out a couple titles, but just give people specifically what you do, so they know, and then bring some clarity to that.
No doubt. So, what I do is I like to look at you as a whole human being. So, as an integrated health coach, specifically, I focus on busy professionals and their anxiety, their exhaustion, and their metabolic challenges that they have, just so they can come to the light and bring more vibrance to that impact that they want to have, right? Because without that energy, without that path, and you have that anxiety, there's no real impact that we all yearn to have, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as busy professionals. So that's that focus to bring it all in and looking at you 360, the mind, body, spirit with that, and bring it all together. So really you can live your authentic self, your true self.
So what you do is, you train people, but it's not just about the physical aspect, it's about the mental side of it and then the lifestyle of it as well, right?
Yeah, So I started off as a trainer, and with my path, it's been training that led me into nutrition, which led me into behavioral science, which led me more into the mental health aspect of things. And really, it's always been a real spark of mine, because my mother has struggled with a mental illness. She struggled with depression for many years growing up. And one of those things that has left us, and sometimes we were homeless because of that. So it was one of those things that life kind of puts something in your pocket early on, and you just develop it and uncover it a little bit later on in life, and you uncover this passion that it's always been there with you, but your path is kind of giving you tools and skill sets to really bring that in and share your truth with other people and help them along the way as well.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And I was hearing about you telling me this earlier, what it is that you do specifically, and it was very intriguing, because a lot of what we talk about on this podcast and what I speak about is about getting people to become whole with themselves. And I know, I don't know about Dre, but I know for me, I used to work out, and it used to be just with the idea of, oh, I'm more masculine because I look a certain way, so I have to maintain that look, right? And then it became, oh, I'm pissed off, or I'm angry, I'm stressed out, I need to work out, right? And let off that steam. But I'm starting to, and from what you're telling me, it's more behind that, and the way to look at it should be different, which is pretty dope, and I appreciate that, man.
Oh yeah, no doubt. It's exactly what you were talking about. The same thing. I had that same experience. I wanted to get bigger. I wanted to get muscular. I wanted to be more. And when we break that down, when it's really a feeling that you're not enough, right? That aspect of I'm not enough. I need more. I need to build myself more so I can fulfill this quote unquote masculinity that, for the most part, when I break it down, it really wasn't even my definition of masculinity. It was something that I adopted. So when we look at that a little bit closer, it's, okay, what is masculinity? And, who gave you that definition that you have of masculinity right now? And it's taking ownership of that. So, yeah, like the overworking, getting to it, the overachieving, all that work, it says something about where you are, and a big part of it is it's why, right? Like you talked about being angry or being frustrated, and I was feeling the same way in my career, right? In terms of training clients, but also training my body and my mind as well. But I was like, I got to get angry to perform well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
If I'm feeling well, now to perform well, I got to get into this place that is really at an angst. You know what I mean? And I was like, there's something off about that, because how I look at it is like health doesn't require you to suffer for you to advance, right? That's against natural laws. So I was like, there's something off about this. Like I want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy this process and not be angry, in order to perform. So
that's crazy.
That's where things really started switching out.
That's crazy, because I know, for me, playing ball, I was taught to being angry was a advantage, right? The more angry you could be on the court, the more you can push yourself against your opponent, right? And I was trained to think that, which is crazy. Like you said, is going against what you should be doing, right? But being in like these sports like football, basketball, and like rugby. I know Trey, our producer, played rugby. Like I would imagine at some point we were conditioned to think the angrier we get, the better it would be. And I remember being in situations in games, whether it's pick up at the park or in school games, where I would just get pissed off, and I just felt like I needed to get pissed off so I can motivate myself to push myself to finish the game or get through a play or whatnot. And that's just not right, because at the end of it, you just don't feel like there's something there afterwards. I used to feel like empty, like, why do I have to get, like you said, why do I have to get myself angry to perform? You know what I mean? So it's dope that you said that, man.
Yeah, it's going on that same over here, right? It's like, and it's not so much that anger is bad, right? It's just that we weren't taught how to utilize it. Like think about like the technology nowadays, right? Are we using it or it's using us, right? So when we get angry, anger really consumes us, right? So a lot of the times we do things that an angry person does, right? So when you break that sentence down, I am angry, that's an identity, right? I am angry, which means you are going to do things that someone that's angry does, rather than I'm feeling anger right now. Let me utilize this in a productive way. Let me get the strategies that I need to get this done, because you're going to get angry in life. That's like there's no shame in it. There's no wrong in that. Where it comes about is how you're going to utilize that energy, right? Because it's just an energy that you have. So how are we going to funnel it in a productive way to get what we need and understand how to come down from that?
That's dope.
That's the other thing about it. Like, we weren't taught how to come down. One, we weren't taught what it is. We weren't taught how to utilize it, and we weren't taught how to come down. And that's a big aspect that we're missing. That it's balance. It's the yin and the yang, right? Where we work synergistically. Like, let me get hyped up. I'm a little frustrated right now. Let me use this energy to push through this and create this podcast, right?
Yeah.
But now that was an intense period. Let me get that recovery and regeneration period where, okay, now I can come back cool and kind of enjoy the fruits of that intense sprint, rather than getting to the side. So it's really about the tools and understanding really how our operating system, the human operating system, and we weren't taught that.
That's dope, man. That's crazy. Because even to bring in things more recent, like I remember getting angry today with my daughter. She just wasn't listening, right? And I get frustrated. I noticed I was losing my temper more and more. And I'm washing the dishes at the same time. I'm telling her to do something. She's 5, right? And at this point, she gonna question everything, and she's curious, right? But like when I ask her to do something, sometimes I just need her just to do it, right? And in that moment, she just was combating me while I was trying to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. I'm washing the dishes, and I reacted in a way like, just do it because I said to do it, and I gave a reason. But just sometimes you just need to, But I lost my temper a little bit. And then while I'm washing the dishes, I start reflecting like, yo, why did I react like that? And I noticed that wasn't something that was in my repertoire when I was younger. I noticed when I was younger, I would never have that reflection time to actually think about why I was angry. What I naturally started doing, what you brought up with technology, I usually would watch a movie. I would get on the phone and distract myself to get away from what just had happened, instead of like taking the time to actually process and actually dove into it. What made me really upset? Was it just me trying to multitask and it wasn't working out that way? Why should I react that way? And then I was able to calm myself down and have the conversation with my daughter afterwards. But I think it's essential. I would ask you what I would ask you is, how do you teach that? Like when you're coaching your clients, that piece right there, how do you go about presenting that to your clients that are struggling with that and can't articulate that necessarily?
Yeah, so there's like 2 parts to this. So like the part that you were talking about, going back to like your interaction with your daughter, and why that's so beautiful is because you were aware of what you did, right?
Yeah.
You were aware of like, okay, this is not how I want to be. You know what I mean? And we all have like little traumas, little things that we fill out. But the other aspect of that is that you took action on it, right? Because mindfulness gets a lot of play now, right? We want to be aware, we want to be mindful. Right? But that's just one part of the equation.
Yeah.
To be mindful and continue to do what the hell you were doing to begin with, right? You're just mindful that you're doing the wrong shit, and you're not correcting yourself. So now is the action step with that, which you talk about reflecting and now having a conversation with your daughter with that. You know what I mean? And I can relate to that because with my baby girl, it was something similar, right? Where she was banging on some plates, and I was washing dishes, and I was like, Zane, can you stop? And kids are right? Because
Word.
if and they check us, because I want my baby girl to be expressive. You know, I want her, like, when I like the fact that she will talk back. You know what I mean? Because if I tell her not to talk back, that's telling her not to express herself and not to speak out. Right? So many women get told to be nice and not to and to hold themselves in. Right? But I want to show her that, express yourself. So yes, talk back, but there's a way that you can challenge me.
Yeah.
You know, and we can have like a conversation about that.
Right.
So when she's like, I'm just doing music, I'm like, shit, right. I'm like, all right, baby girl, can you like bring it down a little bit though? Like, do your thing, just bring it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
And like that's an aspect of learning as well.
Yeah.
You know, like we wouldn't take a child if they took a book and started reading. We would have like, stop that, right? But when they play around, when they climb on parts, or where they're banging on noise, that's an aspect of learning as well.
Yeah.
We're quick to stop that, and so that reflection and that conversation that you have with her is huge. You know, and that's a beautiful thing. And I like to say reflection is, people talk about they want more time. They don't have enough time. Like I look at reflection as almost like a time capsule, right? Like a time machine.
Yeah. Because
you can save yourself so much time with that. Yeah. But then if I reflect, and now I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done this, and I could do this better. Now I take action on that. What did you save yourself? That as opposed to someone that didn't reflect. You might have saved a year, a couple months, maybe 5 years. Right. So if you want more time, get that reflection, into your world. Right. And to go with your other question in terms of my clients, we'll have a discussion much like we're doing now, and we'll talk about some of those triggers that they might have. And what happens is that a lot of times we were just taught to shun our emotions, right? So we never even deal with the emotions that we quote unquote shouldn't have. Yeah. Right? And I teach it as emotions are going to be a messenger to you. Right? They're here to show you something more of yourself or the situation. And when you get curious about something, you can see that it opens some other possibilities up with that. And when you get more comfortable, it's about getting them first more comfortable with doing that. And everybody's at a different stage, right? Maybe I have a couple sessions with one person and they're starting to get it. And maybe another person, it might take three or 4 sessions or maybe a month, for them to get it. It really depends on someone's trauma and their history with it. But starting that conversation and letting you know, hey, what you're feeling is like, you shouldn't be ashamed of it, And every time we use the word should, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, that's a judgment that you're putting on yourself. And when we're putting that judgment on ourselves, we're really limiting ourselves in our truth. And that goes against what we talked about before about living authentically and living truly to how you want to live and who you want to be.
Gotcha. That's dope, man. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I've seen people do like the coaching thing, but it's just because I watch you on your Instagram, and you're posting about eating right, living right. You covering a lot of different things, and then you'll post a video of like fitness exercises that I may have never seen before, how to work out a specific muscle that I didn't even know how to do, kind of some yoga or some different type of workout that I've been seeing that's very interesting. So I love what you're doing and presenting it, and you're trying to cover a lot of bases with what you're doing and trying to become get the whole person. I know for me, I used to work out just to look a certain way, and now I'm trying to head towards working out to feel better. You know what I mean? But you can't really feel better if you're not connecting it all together. So working out for me now, and it's a good thing you say that, because when I work out, I'm actually I'm processing at the same time situations that I'm dealing with. Like when I go running, I go run sometimes to clear my mind now. Before it was never that. It was just listening to music and just trying to run as fast and get a time. where now slowly I'm reflecting. I'm thinking about how to react to things while I'm angry, and it kind of brings more time on my day, like you said, because I get that reflecting out the way while I'm working out. So and then by the time I'm around people like my family or my colleagues or people that I'm working with or people I just run into, I'm more able to be present. You know what I mean? And be fully there. So it's pretty dope what you're doing, man. I love it, man, for sure.
Yeah, what you're talking about right there, that's evolution right there too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like everyday activity or several times during the week. So that's big up to you in going through that process. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that mind body connection. And I know like people use the mind body connection all the time, but it's really the body, right? Because the mind is not separate from the body.
Yeah.
But the brain functions off of our movement, right? So it's the way that it evolved is based in us moving. So you see a lot of animals that have movement, that move, have brains. A lot of organisms that don't really move, don't really possess these quote unquote brains, these bigger like complex brains,
yeah.
right? And it's that movement stimulates has more neurons, so neurogenesis with that, which you can continue to make neurons, brain cells until the day you die. This is something different than science taught us before, where you only have a finite amount of brain cells and then you dying off of just that number. We know that it's much different. We're very plastic, and we can shape our future and our expressions, our body expressions, and how our brain is structured throughout our life. So this is where, you know, your social connections come in. This is where your exercising come in, and not so much exercising, but movement in general, right?
Right.
You don't have to just go out and do exercise in the hours and hours and hours of exercise, but just movement in general, you know. And this is where like nutrition comes in as well, to kind of reshape your brain structure and also enhance your world, your relationships, the community, your purpose, et cetera, throughout that change. So yeah, that's a big step.
Let me ask you this, because I be watching the movements that you be doing, and y'all got to check out his Instagram and his YouTube, where he's doing all different types of things. And when do you come up with some of those things? I'll be watching, I'm like, yo, I ain't even that flexible. I can't do that. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. I'm not getting there. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? It's interesting and to see where you came from, because we kind of came from the same place, like playing ball, and we came from the same type of working out type of format, right? We played college ball together, and it was mainly weight room sprints and like endurance type stuff. But like the stuff you're doing now is like some evolved type, evolution type stuff that I'm interested in. I just want to know, like, do you come up with that? And if you do, where did that come from, or what inspired that?
You know, I would love to take credit for those movements, but no, I don't come up with them. There's actually a discipline called animal flow.
Okay.
And what that is a series of movements, body weight based movements, and it takes from disciplines of like breakdancing, martial arts, animal movements, that's the name, animal flow, and some like yoga, and bringing that together. And when it goes like when you go into a flow, you string these movements together and you go into a flow, and it's really something different, you know. And as opposed just in not just only being something different, but the profound effects that it has on your body, how your body responds, things about, you know, core strength, body weight mastery, with the brain body connection. It's one of those things I do when I'm writing and I'm sending out content and I'm stuck. You know, I get up out of my chair, do a couple of those moves, I get back in the chair and I feel refreshed, right? Because one of the things the mind, the brain loves is novelty. So if I can get you to move in a different way, your brain is going to be stimulated. You know what I mean? And when some of my clients come in super, super stressed out, I remember this one time, this one client of mine, she was super super stressed. I was going through so many different things, and I knew if I put her in a different position, I do like the animal flow movements, and certain like overhead weighted movement as well, because your body has certain postures that send signals to your mind, like be like you're elated. You know, it's when like you don't dance and are in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Jump and you're in a bad mood. You know, so there's this feedback loop, right? So if I put you in a certain position, it's going to tell your mind, your brain, a different kind of signal. You know, so that's how I look at you as well. Like, okay, what can we do today? Because my mantra is, you need to leave here this session better than what you came in. You know, it's not about beating you up, because you have a life after this. So yeah, you crushed, quote unquote, crushed the workout, but now are you going to have enough energy to give your children? What's the energy you're going to give your husband or your wife? You know what I mean? What's the energy you're going to give your business and your employees as a leader going through it? You know, no one's ever going to be on the deathbed and be like, "Yeah, I should have killed that workout. I should have did more workouts." That doesn't happen. That's not real. I'm not saying that in like movement and exercise is not important, but we have to kind of let's see what our priorities are and use it as something to bring you up rather than the one thing so you can gloat and get validation from the outside world. That's
crazy, man. Like two things I wanted to go off of that was like the dancing thing. That is like you just broke it down. It just made me think, and Dre made a face too, because like it hit us, I guess, at the same time, where it's like, yeah, that's right. You don't dance when you angry. Like,
hold on, so did you have the stank look face, like someone farted in the room?
No, we ain't had that face. We had that, like, the light bulb went off in the head, like, oh, that's true. Like, I don't dance, and I remember sometimes when I'm super stressed out, to be real, like, my wife, she'll just, like, the lights like, we'll be in the dark and we talking, I'm sad, and she'll just put on some, you know what I mean, some music, Tony, and our favorite song is Anniversary, and she'll just put it on, and for all my young kids, let's go look that up on YouTube, Tony, Anniversary, it's a hit, and it's a good way to connect. So anyway, she puts on that song, and we just start dancing, and I go from stress to actually, like, it puts me in a good mood, and when you said that, the light bulb went off, and I was like, you're right, like, that actually works for me. And I used to put it to, you know what I mean, just being intimate with my wife, or like having an intimate moment with her. But like, if you break it down, she changed my movement from sitting down to dancing. And that helped with my mind changing its mood. And then, like, it's just key when you said that. Also, I wanted to ask you, like, whenever you come up with these, because I worked out in gyms, and I know Dre goes to the gym a lot too. And I know I've seen personally in New York and in Texas, where I go to the gym and I be seeing some trainers trying some wild stuff. Like, yo, what is that person doing? Like, I've never seen that before, and that looks stupid. Like, that looks crazy. Like, that can't be right, And but like, I could imagine, like, the faces, like, people like, tell us about an experience. Like, did you ever have people look at you crazy when you trying to give them these different type of workouts? Like, did you have any pushback from that aspect? You know what I mean?
I think when you do something a little bit different, you're always going to have a little, like, raised eyebrows. There's going to be people that, you know, aren't really sold until you let them know you know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah. You know, and then you kind of you see where they're at, and you ease them in. But yeah, I mean, doing some movements myself in the gym, you'll get a little bit, you get some certain looks, you know, and then with some clients, you can tell they have a little bit of, you know, some reserve, but you're at the point where you build rapport with them, and they trust you. You know what I mean? And you know, so that's one of those things. That's one of those things as well, and that's a barometer too. If they're like, you know, it's like, okay, you yourself as a coach haven't done your job in terms of connecting with them and really showing them something different. Sometimes it just might not be their time. Sometimes, like, we've all been at a point in our world where if certain information was brought to us, we'd be like, you wild. Like, get that out of my face. You know? Wow. Even though it'll be like the truest shit that you ever heard, you know, that resonates with the laws of nature and all that. You're not open to it. So I wouldn't shove it down anyone's throat, but I try to let them know that everything I do is with purpose, with science, and for the betterment of their lives. And it's not like, let's do something cool so we can look cool, and let's try to really run you into the floor. So let's see where you're at. Everything that I do is for you, you know, with that. So yeah, you get a little bit of mix here and there.
And I mean, the way you broke it down, I mean, you like the perfect first guest to come on the show, because I feel like you translated success right there. The way you doing with your clients right there, you breaking it down, you getting to know what it is they need, and you're adjusting to what is needed to be done in that moment. So it's pretty dope that you're able to do that, and you've headed your work in that direction. And I love that, man, because it's pretty dope having someone, you know, having to connect the dots with someone and building that trust, and that's what it's about. I can imagine how rewarding that may feel for you when you know, it's not just like you said, running someone to the ground, you know, I had trainers too that just be like so aggressive and so intense, and coaches being in sports all my life, where it's just like shoving it down your throat, where it's more like you're getting to reflect in that moment and being pushed to like think about what it is that's really going on, and then connecting it to an exercise that can actually help your mood and your stress level and everything like that. It's pretty dope, man. I appreciate that, for real.
No doubt. Yeah, I appreciate you. I received that. You know, and like you said, like with the sports too, that's how we grew up. You know what I mean? But playing ball, and in that culture, it's you go, right? You push, and you keep pushing. It's not really, you can like slow up. If you slow up, you're losing. You know what I mean? And not looking at this synergistic approach that we need. Our rest is going to enhance our performance.
Yeah.
You know, with that. So it's really kind of challenging for the most part. You know, challenging what you were, you know, indoctrinated with. You know, and setting your own path, looking for that truth, capital T. You know, I love saying, like, all right, listen, my message is the truth, capital T, whether it's through your mind, through your body. Let's work in truth, honest truth, and that's always going to be in alignment with, you know, what your life needs, what your body needs.
Word, that's dope, man. Like talking to you today too, like noticing, like just knowing your stuff, and we talked about too, like me and Juan, like I said at the beginning of the show, like me and Juan go way back, and we just talking about how far we've come. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this conversation we had. I think you were working, I don't know if it was a summer, because I used to be up there in the summers for college. I would stay at college and do like little side jobs or whatever to make a little money and get some more experience. Or it may have been the end of the semester, you were still up there and working on something. We're just talking about like aspirations and like what's the next step since ball is over and what we're doing now. And you just had just like this mindset of like, yo, I need to keep growing. Like I need to learn. And I remember you being in a lot. I don't know if you remember that conversation we had, but we were both in the library, and I walked by you, and we chatted for a little bit. And I'm pretty sure you was working on going to get your master's, or I'm not for sure, but I remember the conversation, and we were just talking about like, you know what I mean, what's the next step, aspirations, and I just remember you were just all about the growth. In that moment, I was just like, yo, I'm about the same stuff, you know what I mean, and I need to know more about what I want and then learn as much as I want from that. And I remember you was into the exercise science, and then like where you at now, like the way you broke things down scientifically in the terms and everything, like and bringing it to the podcast, like it's like you know your stuff, and you could tell you know your stuff. And I would encourage all my viewers on this podcast, especially in the profession that I'm in and we're in right now, know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that's where the passion will come from, and you're able to focus on the reflection piece, and you're able to work on your whole self if you know your stuff, and you give your all to the work that you're doing. It just opens doors for you to like make more impact. You know what I mean? So I just remember that conversation and where you at now. I remember you was hitting the books, and I was just like, yo, I don't know what it is you're going to end up doing, but you're going to end up doing something big. You're just focused, and I think it was definitely your senior year or after your senior year, and you were still in that grind mode where most seniors is just like, yo, I'm done. I passed my test, I'm about to go home, you know what I mean, next step. But you were still in like grind mode, you know what I mean? And I respected that for sure.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it, because I remember also back then, you know, we spoke about this, I think like probably like 7 weeks ago, where, you know, it's just like workhorses. You know, seeing you doing the work on the court and putting in the reps and putting in the reps and putting in the reps and putting in the reps. I'm like, yo, this dude is wild. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, he's going in. You know, so it's definitely something. And talk like when we spoke before, going off of that, it's like growing up how I'm sure you grew up this way too. Growing up how we grew up, it's like we just seeing that blue collar. We just seeing that work. You know, so for me, it's like you give me an opportunity, or you just give me the recipe, show me what to do, and be like, yeah, you got to work hard. That's normal. That's like there's no B game. You know, that's just all I know.
Yeah. You
know, so it goes off of that. And there's like deeper reasons for it too. When you overachieve and you start doing some things of that nature, going back to like when you were talking about your conversations with your father,
yeah,
you know, and being able to plug the pieces off of, you know, my childhood and what I went through in my traumas with that. Like I didn't have that relationship with my dad. You know, I really didn't have a relationship with my father whatsoever. You know, so it kind of, when you go deeper into that and you choose not to live in that like animosity anymore, and you choose to grow out of that, you understand that, all right, I don't have to live with like this chip on my shoulder, right? Because one of the big things when a parent isn't there is that you feel like you're not enough, right? That's a unconscious kind of program that runs in your head, because this person that's biologically supposed to be there for you is not, right? And there's a lot of kind of deeper hurt and deeper things that happen because of that. Right. And like I talked about before, going through some of that homelessness with my mom, and my mom going through those struggles, right? Sometimes she would not take the pill she was supposed to take. Yeah. You know, and then we will be in trouble. And basically I was talking to my sister one time, like, yo, you know, we were orphans. Yeah. Like that, you know that, you know what I mean? When my mom was hospitalized, you know, possibly their moms was there. So you think about that for certain stints, and what that does to your mindset. You know what I mean? What that does to your self-worth or your abandonment issues. And that's just that just kind of settles and festers, you know. And I wasn't like I'm a kill the world, or, you know, F this dude, or this, that, and the third, you know, but it was still big aspects of me that felt like I wasn't worthy, because both of my parents weren't there for me. You know what I mean? So there was no relationship that was ever going to survive until I healed. You know what I mean? Because there would be relationships, but that person would just get so far. Right? I wouldn't allow them to get closer, because if both of my parents weren't there for me, there's no way. You're an outsider. You know what I mean? You're not going to be there for me. Like, I'm going to protect me, you know, and even though men don't really talk about that, like men still protect their hearts. You know what I mean? It's still, whether it's through anger, we talked a little about before, whether it's through like, you know, this alpha male kind of aspect that is really an insecurity, you know, like we still try to protect our hearts in certain kind of ways.
Word.
So looking at that overachieving and work ethic, now it's like, yeah, work ethic is good. It's just like when we're talking about working out, but now why are you doing it? You know, are you running from something or are you running towards something? You know, and before it was like, okay, I'm running away from something because I need to feel like I'm validated because I have abandonment issues. Yeah. And now after you heal, you're like, no, I have a purpose. I have something that I want to do. You know, like that's in the past. I heal from that. I understand it, and I'm taking the skill sets that it gave me, but there's no animosity with that anymore. So I'm going to work towards this. You know, and that goes into like understanding people, having empathy for people, realizing people's paths, you know, their journeys, and not everybody has it figured out. No one has. I don't have it figured out. You know, and going through your journey that much more in tune and aligned with that, because there's no real, like, you're not hiding anything. You're living your truth. Like, you heal. So when someone pokes at you, like, you're not gonna have a jerk reaction, right? If we're like a burn victim, think of our emotions. If we were like a burn victim, right, and you would push your hand or touch a burn victim, they would give you a knee-jerk reaction. They'll get defensive, right? When you say, "Oh, you did this wrong," you know, they'll have a knee-jerk reaction because you're hitting an emotional wound. Yeah. But when you heal and you have that same pressure, you're not gonna have a knee-jerk because you heal from that. And you're like, "Oh, okay. So I need to do this, and better," and you're letting that propel you forward. Wow. So that healing process is huge for everything. I like to say healing is the genesis.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because how everything is set up now. Like one of Jay-Z's hottest lines in his last album, "You can't heal what you never revealed." It's out there, you know what I mean? J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and all these artists talking about mental health and being able to articulate yourself and get through it and talk about it. I did a speaking engagement yesterday at a school, Yes Prep, and I talked to just a small class, and just giving advice and stuff like that. And one of the questions came up about like, how do you like get through? You know what I mean? And basically, my response was that there's privilege in not having privilege, right? There's an advantage of being disadvantaged, right? Because if you look at it, the only way if you start real low, the only way you could go is up, right? So like when we were going through it, and I saw this in you at college, like why I worked so hard but I never really talked about this. My first year at Cortland, when I first met you on the team, and I was crazy because Juan talking about I would train, like I remember remember that first day where we had to run 50 sprints or whatever it was for the tryout.
Man, listen. I'm trying to put all that past.
Yeah. Well, with the first day of trials, you had to run like 50 sprints nonstop, and I'm talking about like suicides, right?
And there was the times on it.
The times on it, right? And then if you drop, you basically got cut. So basically, that's how they was looking at it. Yo, I was that dude. Yo, I was and this is crazy, and this is what Juan was talking about, because I was in the gym with the lights off before the coach came in and turned the lights on, and I was already starting my sprints. I was warming up before everybody had to do the sprints, which is kind of, I look back, I was like, that's freaking crazy. But I was willing to put myself to do that work because I knew like the failures in my life had prepared me to like know what pain was. So like it wasn't something that I was afraid of, right? So I was willing to put it all on the line and even fail, right? And I think I was telling the student this, like, you know what I mean? There's an advantage to it. because all you can do is go up, and you already know what is that pain. You know what it is to fail and feel that pain and how to adjust and continue to go. And for me, we were both in college, and we were around people that they would fail a class and it was like life was over, or they broke up with a girlfriend or boyfriend, or had a fight with their friend, and everything just was done, right? And then there was a huge shift in their behavior. Whereas for me and for you, like, we were used to like having to adjust, right? Because things just weren't working out as we were younger. And I didn't talk about this when I was at college. That first year that I met you, Juan, and I was doing those sprints and staying in the gym earlier, my father just got 3 strikes for DWI, and he had to go to Rikers Island. So that whole first year at Cortland, nobody knew, but my dad was in prison, in one of the worst prisons of all time, Rikers Island, right? And I had that in my mind. It was like, yo, I gotta make this team. Like, I gotta work harder than everybody else, and I gotta, you know what I mean, do well in these classes. But all everybody saw was me laughing, interacting, working hard, and just putting my head down. But nobody knew the what was happening behind closed doors, right? Because I wasn't, and I never expressed that to you either, Juan. Like that, like I remember waking up because my dad had called me early in the morning. It was like 3 o'clock or whatever. And it was from the penitentiary, you know what I mean? And I was getting to collect calls and everything like that. So like I had that every day, the whole first year at Cortland, in the back of my mind while I was on the team, you know what I mean? In a new environment, trying to fit in and all that. So, and I was still trying to, you know what I mean, be me and find my identity and push myself in different limits. But, you know what I mean? It's power in being disadvantaged, or there's power in failure and struggle. You just got to be able to see it that way. You know what I mean? A lot of greatness comes out of, you know, they say it all the time, pressure makes diamonds, you know what I mean? And they also bust pipes. You just got to be able to see it differently, you know what I mean? And use it to your advantage.
Yo, most definitely, yo. That's deep. That's real right there, yo. Thank you for sharing that. That's tough.
Yeah.
You know, going through that, and like we were talking about, like you will be laughing and still going through this pain, right?
Yeah.
And it's like spirited people, right? I consider you like you're a spirited person. I consider myself a spirited person in terms of enthusiasm, right? So like the spirit is so much stronger than the body, you know what I mean? So and when we're in that state, it might look like you're not in pain or you're not going through something, but it's just that you're so spirited that, you know, you still have these elation times, these times of elation when shit hits the fan as well. It doesn't mean that you don't feel pain. You know, it's almost like what you talked about. You've been through so much, and you've been able to, you know, evolve your spirit that it's very difficult to touch the spirit for too long, you know. And people are like, oh, you're positive and you're so this, and you see it this way. And I think people have positivity all screwed up, you know. I think people look at positivity as something like a cheerful thing, as opposed to I look at it as peace. You know, positivity is peace. So you talk about the struggle, talk about my pain. I like to say my pain is now my privilege. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like when you heal from that there's power in your pain, but you need to be able to heal from it so you're able to kind of exude that potential power that you have in that pain. You know what I mean? And I also say, like, our experiences aren't for us to keep. Yeah. So people, there's someone that needs to hear your story, or someone that needs to hear like what you overcame, because it's going to give them some glitter of hope or some glitter of connection.
But first, with that being said, I do believe the first person that needs to hear that is yourself, so that you can understand it better. And the more, and the premise of that line that Jay-Z said, you can't heal what you never reveal. You got to be able to talk about it more, as hard as it is, to talk about it more, identify it more, so that you can address it with other people. And it doesn't matter what people know, because you know it more. You know what I mean? And that's why, like you said, like just love hearing the stories of others. Like you never know. Like even in the last episode where Dre was talking about being in college and holding his daughter while he's doing his work. Like I never had to deal with that. Like I could talk about all my pain, but I don't know what it is. I have a daughter now, and I can't imagine having a daughter in college. But like, you know what I mean? Dre been through mad stuff, and he's still supporting and being a good father and doing everything he got to do after like having to have that experience in college. Like who does that? You in college, you can either, you know what I mean, have the idea that you're supposed to be free, or you can just take up your responsibilities, and just learning that from people, like you never know. And Dre's real fun loving, cool, and like you would like he likes to joke around a lot. But like hearing that was powerful for me because it's like, yo, damn, like I can't imagine me being in that position. I think I'm strong, but just being able to stay up and finish a project with a daughter, because I know what a daughter in your hands feels like, especially as an infant. Like that's impossible to even like manage. Well, it was impossible for me to manage while I didn't have to do no homework. I'm like trying to stay up and trying to make her not cry. Like I said in the last episode, I broke down because she wouldn't stop crying, and he over here like busting down projects with her in the hand, and he like doing. I was like, yo, that takes a different type of strength. So like, it's important for you to learn from other people's struggle, and just because you think you may have in having the whole biggest struggle, don't think somebody else ain't going through something different or something that you can't manage because you haven't been through yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 1,000%. And now what we're kind of faced with seems like we came up out of that situation, right? And now how do we pass that, you know, strength and accountability to our children, right? Yeah. Without having them having to go through what we went through, you know. And I think sometimes we get caught up with, you know, I don't want them to struggle like I struggled, and I don't want them. Exactly. And then it turns into I don't want them to struggle. Period. Yeah, and that becomes dangerous, right? Yeah. Because they shouldn't struggle the way you struggled, but not. I guess struggle is a different bad word here, but conflict, right? Because conflict strengthens your character.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. So if we're able to come up and do what we do and provide a different life and a better life for our children, that is 100% what we should do. But what we can't do is rob them of conflict. You know, what we can do is kind of instill in them that character, that what we taken in from life. And of course, this is my opinion. I'm not saying this is like the parenting way, but it's like, what can I instill in baby girl in terms of character, in terms of authenticity, in terms of her self-worth and her growth mindset, that can best prep her for this world that she's going to have to step into, you know, and not take away any of her power, because if daddy or mommy's not there, then what? You know, she has no way to really take a punch from life, you know, and then like keep going and keep going back. So it's one of those things where it's tough too, because you have to question, like, am I being a good dad?
Yeah.
You know, am I, you know, you know what I mean? So that hits.
Let me ask you, how old is your little one?
Baby girl Zane is 4. She turned 4 in June. And beat this. So that whole situation too, like me and her mother are not together. Yeah. Right? So like, look at when that happened, I had to look at myself, and because a part of my identity was, don't be like your father. Yeah. Right? Don't be like your father. Don't be like your father. Don't be like your father. Right? So now what happens? I have a baby girl, and I'm no longer with her mom. So this smells like me being like my pops, because my father had a bunch of different families, right? So I was like, oh shit, you know, what's going on here? And it's dangerous. It's dangerous to be so caught up with something that you don't want, like anti something, right? It's necessary. You need to understand what you don't want in life, but the biggest part of it is to figure out what are you for. right? Because if I'm just focused on not being like this, all my mind, I was talking about like kind of attracting what you keep persistently putting into your mind, right?
Yeah.
So all that I had in my mind is like your father, right? Was the aspect of what you resist persists. So I had to learn how to, I didn't have a father figure. Like growing up in a household full of women, what that enabled me to kind of get was kind of these points of, what not to be like. You know what I mean? Don't do this, and seeing close women hurt a lot by the men that they were involved with, right?
Yeah.
These women that I care for and I love for. So like, okay, don't be like this, don't be like that, don't do this, don't do that. But then I had to figure out, through some people that came into my life, take what I wanted and disregard what I didn't, and be like, okay, I want to be this. And once that happened, it was all right. Now getting the tools, getting my definition and my aspect of what masculinity is for me, and my purpose and my drive into the world.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I appreciate you expressing that, man. It's even to even be able to get to that point where you could just express it to other men, you know what I mean, and say like, yo, like, and identify that, like, I am starting to feel like I am my father. And that's what we talked about before, where I had to address that, like, I am, like, that's in me now. What do I do differently? And that reflection piece that we were talking about, again, that's big. And even having your situation like that's a fear of mine, even to this day. Like, what if me and my wife aren't together anymore? Like, that's going to look totally different. But I have to be in a position where I'm still present and still have to do that reflection so that I don't, miss out in those moments where I'm needed or whatnot, you know what I mean? And that's a fear. And I respect y'all to be able to put yourselves out there and talk about it, because a lot of people don't, you know what I mean? And for more men to hear about that, to spark up conversation, like, we just trying to be better, but we don't know how to. And the way to know how to is start talking about it more and having more conversations with yourself, and then being able to make it easier to have conversations with others, and then figuring it out. We learn from each other. And like I said, the whole premise of this podcast, from those conversations I had with my pops that changed my life. Like, I've been having those conversations with my pops way before we started going on my trips and speaking, like since I was 13. My father would just break down and tell me stuff that maybe I should have not been told. Like, straight up, I'm gonna be honest with you. My father was bugging on some topics. My father was bugging, but I look back and I respect the hell out of it, because he was trying.
Yeah.
He was reaching out in that moment. Like, he couldn't find. And I remember when I was older, he had expressed that. It was like, it's crazy. I'm sorry that it had to be you, but there was nobody else. And I had to be like, damn. You know what I mean? He was like, so we all trying to find that space to be able to do that. My father went to therapy. He tried different things, but we just had a different type of bond. You know what I mean? And I put myself in a position where I was starting to, because I used to judge him. I used to be angry, and then everything started changing when I started asking different questions, right? And then coming from an empathetic view and not blaming him, is trying to learn him. Right? Because I wanted to break the pattern, and I had to learn. So having those conversations since I was 13 changed everything for me. But like, just knowing, like, and my dad is the most macho man. Like, you met him one time, like, he had tattoos all over. He talked like Scarface. He's real like thug. And my dad is like quick temper, like you say. He cool with everybody, but if you say something crazy, he quick to punch you in the face. Like, that was my father, right? So he had a lot of things, but inside he just wanted to be loved. You know what I mean? He just wanted to be understood. And if we all just cut the bullshit, like, that's what we all want. Like, we all just want to be understood and be loved and be, you know what I mean, have companionship, you know what I mean, and be hugged without even feeling to say no homo, you know what I mean, and just be able to have that, be able to have those moments, you know what I mean, and with men or women, whatever, but trying to find those spaces. And I remember dealing, and this is why like you said before, being able to have those opportunities, right? For me, like you said something and just click a Martin clip, like you just give me a toe in the door and I'm busting the whole door open, right? And kind of like what happened here at this media team with Trey and Dre, and Dre brought me on. He's been trying to bring me on for a couple years now to start my own podcast and all that. But you know what I mean, me just getting that opportunity and just saying, yo, just go, right? And when I came here, like, I feel like we got the team to blow up now, right? And we talking about big things, like we watching other podcasts and we like, yo, we can do it like this, we want to get to this place, and we just making like different moves, but like putting yourself in that position to, like, you know what I mean, have those conversations and build and grow. And it's pretty dope, man. I appreciate everything you're doing, and it's inspiring to hear you and articulate your message and your story and bringing that to the table, because that's what we're trying to bring here with this podcast, just trying to have conversation, open ears, open eyes to situations that aren't necessarily common at the dinner table or at the football game, or environments where we could just start having these conversations and kind of have what I experienced with my father and didn't really appreciate in the moment, but now I'm trying to bring that back to the forefront and really give it out to the world, like, yo, this is needed. It could have saved my father. Like, for my father to even look down on this right now, I know he's like, yo, damn, man, like, you know what I mean? He would have loved sitting in this podcast. He used to always, you know what I mean? He would have loved this, you know what I mean? So it's something that I love bringing on, and bringing people like you on, and expressing your story with your family and what you're doing now. I respect it, and I'm going to push it, and anybody that, you know what I mean, looking for your services, I'm going to direct them straight to you. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you back, man. That means a lot. And going on what you were talking about, that safe space that you provide, you know, it's something I can relate to that, just because, like, my mother and her struggle with depression, right? It's just like she's been struggling with that for decades, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And when you talked about, you know, asking the right questions, and remember she had like this episode last year. And, you know, I sat down with her and I was speaking to her. You know, when we look at depression, I look at it as a lack of expression, you know, and, you know, what has she been wanting to express that she was never able to? She's a product of domestic violence, you know, in impoverished like conditions in Dominican Republic, you know what I mean? So that's trauma all in itself. And then when you don't get that chance to express yourself and live your truth, things happen. So I just asked her a simple question, and what got me was that, like, I'm not saying she's cured, but she's been doing so much better, because it seems like she's now living more in her truth. But then it gets me into the aspect of, all these years, I wonder if any therapy or any person that she's seen asked her a simple question. And that question was only, like, what was it in your life that you wanted to do that you felt like you've never been able to do? And, like, at first she gave a superficial answer. I was like, yeah, but you did that. And, like, she got deeper with her response. And you can tell when someone, and this is a clue for anybody out there that's listening, you can tell it when you have an interest or a passion or something that, like, kind of speaks to your truth, when you light up about it when you speak, right? So when she responded, like, her body changed. Remember when we talked about, like, that dancing and your body position, how your mind feels? Right away when she answered, her whole body demeanor changed, right? So that's an important aspect to see in someone. Okay, now they're enthused, and I was like, okay, that's it, you know. And when just get that little spark that interests you, it might not be it right now, but it will probably more than likely lead you to it, you know. And it was just, to me, with all these professionals in the field, just looking to all right, that closes up the symptom. Like we talked about before, we just want to feel like we matter, right? So everybody wants to be heard, everybody wants to be seen, and everybody wants to feel like they matter. The questions you ask yourself, like we talked about before, have to first start out ask that question to yourself, right? Because if you don't ask those questions to yourself, now what are you really telling yourself? I don't really want to get to know me, and you should want to get to know you a little bit more. So when you were talking about getting over some things, like that class asked you how to get over some things, one of the things that started me on this path was extreme curiosity. Who am I, right? And having the curiosity to really, like, who am I? Who do I want to be? And then having the courage to be that, right? And then after that, having the consistency to stay with that, stay congruent to that. And those are the 3 C's I like to stick with: curiosity, courage, and consistency. When it comes to, but that's a testament to that space that you created with you and your father, with a lot of stories that he was exchanging with you. And that's what we're here for when we exchange our experiences, and having this safe space in terms of being men, being masculine, and being able to share deeper truths and show emotion, and still be quote, like, masculine, right? It's a synergistic play. Like, when you're strong, you're gentle. If you're gentle, that means you're strong enough to be gentle. Yeah. With that, they're both one of the same. So
it's crazy.
I think that's a huge point.
It's crazy, because like going back to what I said earlier about what happened with my daughter. Like that's the moment that I had, like, just having that reflection piece when everything went down, and she wasn't following direction, but like having to like think about process. Like, I don't want her to experience because we was talking about the struggle thing. I don't want her to experience the struggle that I had to experience, and I want her to live better, this and that. Just having those thoughts, right? And even like expressing that in this space is just like something that I didn't see growing up, right? It was just something that, what I mean, it was hard to see articulated or whatnot. It just come out as a joke, but just have real talk about, like, other fathers just talking like that. That's something that I didn't see growing up. It just was like I started having conversations with my father that at the time I felt when I was real young, like, this shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't be having. He should just try to be a father. But seeing the importance of it, it doesn't matter how it comes, as long as it's being put out there, and then you work through it, right? There's nothing perfect, right? And you just gotta work it and use it to your advantage, right? However it comes. I was telling some kids yesterday too, sometimes we angry, and I think I talked about this at another episode, sometimes we angry at the person that's giving it to us, right? Because it's not who we want it to be, or how we want it to come out. We just gotta take it how it is, and who it's coming from, and then just grow and keep going. So, like, man, I feel like you coming on this podcast, episode 6, as our first guest, you definitely has done that to one of my viewers, listening and hearing this and seeing you and what you're about. Definitely, I think bringing you to the table can open the floodgates to people, like, having those conversations and hearing your perspective and seeing how articulate you are about what you do, and still being seen as a masculine man that's trying to prosper in life. So I appreciate you. Juan, tell everybody where they can find you before we get off, so like people know where they can find you, what's the best sites, or how they can contact you if they want to get in contact and further have more conversation with you.
Right, so you can find my webpage on www.thrive, THRIVE212.com. That's thrive212.com. And you can find me on IG. We post, hump day doses every week, and that's going to be thrive212.health on that. Again, you can On the website, you'll see my email. Reach out, ask any questions you want. You can also get a link to have a 20-minute, free conversation with me, free session there in the link as well. And honored to be on this platform with you, brother, because like we said, we started from a while back and seeing what you're doing, seeing what you're about. And like I told you before, I love seeing authentic, true, and purposeful people like rise. You know what I mean? Like good people doing good. And it's an honor to be here with you and Dre and your team, and the open arms that you have for me. So it's a blessing. I appreciate you, and I appreciate your squad. Thank you.
Thank you, man. So that's it for episode 6. We first guest. We're gonna have more. I appreciate y'all watching. Continue. If you have any comments or want to further the conversation, comment below, and then we can continue with the next episode. We'll try to bring more people on. But just remember, episode 6, Juan was our first. I know he hit me up, and he was like, "Yo, let me just be at the first guest, and I want to be at the beginning stages." And that was his thing. I was like, I got you. He was real hype. And as people was telling me they want to get on, I remember he said that, so I had to make him first. So when we get to 100 or 200 or 300, Juan was the first. So my brother, thank you. We appreciate you. You're welcome back anytime. Continue the conversation.
Yeah, Los was trying to be bougie.
Huh?
He was trying to be bougie with it. Yo, I want to get it.
I was.
Nah, man. Let's get it rugged.
I was.
I want to be there from the beginning, bro. I don't want that nice little all the studios and all the bright lights. Nah, I want that rugged episode.
All right, so when we get bougie, you come back and you talk about how we started rugged and we started from the bottom, and we'll have that episode.
Exactly.
All right. So, well, thank you for the light skin love. We out here.
That's crazy.
We out here. So, represent. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Juan. And I'll see y'all next time.